Every day you are given a choice: remain as you are or become better. The mind, like a blade, dulls when left unused. Knowledge is not a luxury, it is your duty. The wise seek wisdom daily, while the fool waits for wisdom to come to him. Here are 6 truths to remember. The world is unpredictable, filled with forces beyond our control. Fortune shifts like the wind, people come and go, and circumstances often take unexpected turns. Yet amidst this chaos, one thing remains within our grasp: our ability to learn. No external power can take from you the knowledge you choose to seek, nor the wisdom you cultivate through discipline and reflection. Many waste their days lamenting what they cannot change: the past, the opinions of others, the hand they were dealt in life. They argue with reality, wishing the world would bend to their desires, blind to the truth that they are wasting the most precious resource they have: time. The wise do not indulge in such folly. They focus instead on what is within their power: their thoughts, their actions, their growth. And education, the sharpening of the mind, is an area where no one can prevent them from excelling. Consider a man who blames his lack of success on society, on his upbringing, or on the opportunities he never received. He believes that had he been born elsewhere, had he met different people, had luck favored him, his life would be different. Yet he ignores the power already within him, the power to learn, to improve, to adapt. If he dedicated himself to mastering his skill, to expanding his knowledge, to reading the works of great thinkers, his situation would change. Not because the world outside him changed, but because he became a different person, one more capable, more resilient, and less dependent on external circumstances. A mind that does not grow weakens. Just as the body deteriorates without movement, so too does the intellect without exercise. A person who ceases to learn is not merely standing still, they are regressing. The world moves forward, and ignorance becomes heavier with each passing day. It is not enough to have learned in the past, one must continue learning in the present. A man who once knew the way but does not walk it has no advantage over the man who never knew it at all. Learning is not confined to books or classrooms. The greatest lessons often come from observing life itself. Every conversation holds the potential for insight, every mistake an opportunity for understanding. The wise extract knowledge from all things. A failed plan teaches strategy, a loss teaches resilience, and even a foolish person serves as an example of what to avoid. There is no shortage of teachers for those willing to be students. Discipline is required. Many will say they wish to learn but lack the time. This is an illusion. Time exists for that which we prioritize. A man who spends hours in idle distractions, in fruitless arguments, or in endless entertainment cannot truly claim he has no time to read, to reflect, or to grow. The problem is not the lack of time, but the lack of will. The disciplined mind finds time even in the busiest days, because it understands that learning is not an indulgence, it is a necessity. No one can force wisdom upon you. No law can make you intelligent. No decree can instill understanding. This is a path that must be chosen. The fool remains stagnant, believing he already knows enough, while the wise remain students until their last breath. The moment you believe you have nothing left to learn is the moment you surrender to ignorance. You control what you choose to feed your mind. You can fill it with distractions, with meaningless gossip, with fleeting pleasures that leave you no wiser than before. Or you can nourish it with knowledge, with philosophy, with lessons that fortify you against the trials of life. This choice is yours alone, and in making it you determine the quality of your mind, your character, and ultimately, your fate. The mind that does not question is a mind in chains. To accept everything at face value is to surrender one's intellect to others, allowing them to dictate what is true and what is not. The wise do not live this way. They understand that questioning is not an act of defiance, but an act of discipline, a commitment to truth over comfort, to understanding over blind acceptance. Many people move through life accepting what they are told without ever pausing to ask, is this true? They inherit beliefs from their parents, their society, their culture, and they carry them without ever examining their weight. But a belief untested is a belief unproven. Just because something is repeated often does not make it right, and just because it is old does not make it wise. The past is filled with errors accepted as truth, and the present is no different. Just because it's done the past does not make it hopeless. Just because it's done the past does not make it wise. Just because it's done the past does not make it foolish. Just because it's done the past does not make it wise. Just because it's done the past does not make it foolish. Only those who question can separate wisdom from deception. Questioning does not mean rejecting everything. It means thinking critically, analyzing what is presented, and searching for deeper understanding. When someone speaks with confidence, do not mistake it for correctness. Confidence can be a mask for ignorance. A loud voice does not make an idea true, nor does widespread acceptance make it wise. The masses have often been wrong, following leaders into war, supporting injustice, and believing in falsehoods simply because they were told to do so. History teaches this lesson repeatedly. Those who fail to question are the easiest to deceive. A questioning mind is not easily controlled. It does not fall prey to manipulation or blindly follow authority. It seeks evidence, challenges assumptions, and arrives at conclusions through reason, not obedience. Even the great philosophers questioned themselves, knowing that to assume absolute certainty is the first step toward ignorance. Socrates, one of the wisest men to ever live, declared that his wisdom lay in knowing how little he truly knew. To question everything is to commit to growth. It is to refine one's thinking, to seek truth regardless of how uncomfortable it may be. The fool fears doubt, mistaking it for weakness. The wise embrace it, using it as a tool to sharpen their understanding. A life unexamined is a life wasted. Let your mind be active, not passive. Let your curiosity lead you, and let no belief remain unquestioned. Pain is a teacher that does not ask for permission. It arrives uninvited, shaping those who resist it and strengthening those who embrace it. Hardship is unavoidable. No one walks through life untouched by struggle. Yet the difference between the wise and the foolish lies in how they respond to suffering. The foolish curse their misfortune, seeing only loss. The wise recognize adversity as an opportunity, a lesson disguised as difficulty. It is through struggle that one's true character is revealed. A person who has never faced hardship remains untested, like a blade that has never met the grindstone. It may appear strong, but at the first real challenge, it shatters. Hardship forges resilience. It forces growth. Those who have suffered and endured possess a strength that cannot be faked. They understand pain, they have walked through darkness, and because of this, they are unshaken by future storms. Many try to avoid pain, believing that comfort is the goal of life, but comfort breeds weakness. A life without struggle produces a fragile mind, easily disturbed by the smallest inconvenience. True strength comes from facing suffering head-on, not running from it. The discomfort of discipline, the sting of failure, the weight of loss. These are not punishments, but lessons. They strip away illusion, revealing what is real. Failure, for instance, is often seen as defeat, but failure is only final for those who refuse to learn from it. The greatest minds, the strongest souls, have all failed many times. They did not see failure as the end, but as a necessary step toward mastery. Every setback contains wisdom, but only for those willing to extract it. Pain also teaches humility. It reminds us that we are not invincible, that we are part of a world beyond our control. It tempers arrogance, making us more understanding of others who suffer. Those who have never struggled often lack empathy. They judge too quickly, failing to grasp the depth of another's pain. But those who have faced their own suffering gain a deeper connection to humanity. There is a difference between knowing many things and understanding what truly matters. Information is abundant. Everywhere you look, facts, opinions, and knowledge are thrown at you. Yet despite this flood of data, wisdom remains rare. Many people mistake information for intelligence, believing that accumulating facts makes them wise. But wisdom is not about knowing more. It is about understanding deeply. A person can memorize entire books, quote great thinkers, and recite history, yet still be a fool if they do not know how to apply what they learn. Knowledge without wisdom is like a sword in the hands of a reckless warrior. Dangerous, yet ineffective. It is not enough to collect information. One must discern what is useful, what is true, and what is worth applying to life. The mind must not be cluttered with trivia, but sharpened with insight. Wisdom requires reflection. Information is absorbed quickly, but understanding takes time. One must think, question, and apply knowledge before it transforms into wisdom. Many people read without learning, listen without understanding, and speak without thinking. They consume knowledge passively, but they do not digest it. The wise take their time. They do not rush to form opinions or boast about what they know. Instead, they meditate on what they have learned, testing it against experience. A fool chases knowledge for the sake of appearing intelligent, for winning arguments, for impressing others. The wise seek knowledge to improve themselves, to master their emotions, to make better decisions. Wisdom is not loud or boastful. It is quiet, disciplined, and practical. A truly wise person has no need to prove themselves. They let their actions speak. Wisdom also requires humility. The moment you believe you have learned everything, you have already begun to stagnate. The wise remain students for life, always open to new perspectives, always willing to challenge their own beliefs. They do not cling to outdated ideas out of pride, but adapt and refine their understanding as they grow. Do not be satisfied with simply knowing things. Seek to understand, seek to apply. Do not mistake the illusion of intelligence for real wisdom. Information may fill your mind, but wisdom will shape your character. One is temporary, the other lasts a lifetime. Choose wisely. The past is a map, a guide to the present, and a warning for the future. Those who ignore it walk blindly, making the same mistakes as those before them. History is filled with lessons of triumph, failure, wisdom, and folly. Yet many live as if they are the first to face life's challenges, as if their struggles are unique. In truth, everything we experience has happened before, in some form. Wars, betrayals, power struggles, human weaknesses, all have been repeated countless times throughout history. To ignore the past is to rob yourself of the wisdom it offers. Every great thinker, leader, and philosopher who came before us left behind their thoughts, their struggles, and their insights. Their words are there to be read, their experiences there to be studied. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, these men lived centuries ago, yet their wisdom remains as relevant today as it was in their time. Human nature does not change. The same desires, fears, and ambitions that drove people then drive people now. To read history is to see the patterns of human behavior, to understand what leads to greatness and what leads to destruction. Consider the rise and fall of empires. Every civilization that reached great heights eventually declined. Why? Was it external forces, corruption from within, a loss of discipline and virtue? These are not just questions about the past. They are questions that apply to individuals, societies, and nations today. The wise study history to recognize these patterns, to avoid the errors of those who came before. The fool dismisses history as irrelevant, believing that the present is somehow different, that they are exempt from the lessons of time. Reading the past also gives perspective. Many believe their struggles are the worst that have ever been faced. They believe their challenges are unique, that no one before them has suffered in the same way. But history reminds us that suffering is part of life, that hardship has always existed, and that those before us endured and overcame. This knowledge strengthens the mind, reminding us that we too can persist. To understand the present, you must study the past. To prepare for the future, you must learn from those who have already lived through it in another form. Ignoring history is choosing to walk through life blind. Learning from it is choosing to see with clarity. The choice is yours. Knowledge without action is wasted potential. Many people spend their lives collecting information, reading books, attending lectures, and absorbing wisdom from great minds, yet they fail to put any of it into practice. They mistake learning for growth, believing that understanding a concept is the same as mastering it. But true mastery comes not from knowing, but from doing. A lesson learned but not applied is like a seed never planted. It holds potential but bears no fruit. People admire wisdom, they praise discipline, and they speak highly of perseverance. Yet when the time comes to act, they hesitate. They say they will start tomorrow, that they need more time, that they are not yet ready. But the truth is, no amount of preparation will replace action. If you wait until you feel completely prepared, you will wait forever. The only way to become disciplined is to practice discipline. The only way to gain wisdom is to live by it. Consider the man who reads about Stoicism, who admires the writings of Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, yet does nothing to apply their lessons. He reads about controlling his emotions, yet still allows anger to rule him. He studies the importance of resilience, yet crumbles under the first sign of adversity. He knows that fear is an illusion, yet lets it dictate his choices. His knowledge is useless because it does not shape his actions. He is no better than the man who has never read a single philosophy book, for neither has truly changed. Action is what separates the wise from the merely knowledgeable. A person who has read little but applies what they learn is far superior to one who has read much but does nothing with it. Strength is not built by reading about exercise, and courage is not gained by studying bravery. To become strong, one must train. To become brave, one must face fear. The same applies to all virtues and skills in life. Learning is only the first step. Action is what solidifies it. There is no perfect moment to start applying what you know. The only moment you have is now. If you have learned a lesson, test it in your daily life. If you have read about patience, practice it in moments of frustration. If you have studied self-control, prove it in times of temptation. If you have gained wisdom, let it guide your decisions. It is through action that knowledge transforms into character. Growth does not come from passive learning but from active living. Do not let the pursuit of knowledge become an excuse for inaction. Do not deceive yourself into believing that understanding something is the same as living by it. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is found in what you choose to do. Apply what you learn, and you will become what you seek.